Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, or as he's better known, Mahatma Gandhi, might be one of the most popular humans to have ever existed. He was the reason for India's independence from British rule, and he advocated non-violence while fighting against social inequalities like race and caste. He is revered as a saint in many parts of the world today, a true idol for all. Or so we thought. Who we consider to be a saint might have been a liar, a creep bordering on pedophilia, and a man who a great contingent of the Indian population despises. You've come to the right place. Today, you will learn about the evil that was Gandhi. M.K. Gandhi was born to a Hindu family in a town called Porbandar in Gujarat. India was under British occupation at the time, with the colonial government severely oppressing the Indian populace. Now Gandhi did have a good education, with him learning law in London and then moving to South Africa to practice it. Here, Gandhi is documented to have experienced true racism. In England, Gandhi is said to have been inspired by the English culture. The 19th century was turbulent for South Africa, to say the least, with apartheid becoming a common occurrence. A popular incident with Gandhi was when he was thrown off of a train in Pietermaritzburg for refusing to give his first-class seat to a white guy. He struggled to realize the fact that the Europeans did not treat the coloreds equally. Now it is said that Gandhi fought for equality for all races. That is simply not true. What Gandhi fought for was the equality of Indians specifically. He argued that the Indians and Europeans come from the same race, the Indo-Aryan race, and that there should be a racial hierarchy in Africa. However, he wanted a slight change. He wanted the Indians and the Europeans to be on top together, and then it would be everyone else below them. Isn't that similar to the ideology of another German guy? He described the blacks as savages and that they were living a life of nakedness and indolence. He describes them as this word, which is extremely derogatory. Gandhi here speaks in modern day English, which means that these are his exact words and there are no translation issues. The revelation of such facts has caused widespread protests in Africa, with students in the University of Ghana tearing down the Gandhi statue in front of the university, accusing him of being a racist and a bigot. These claims simply cannot be ignored and are uncharacteristic of someone who is assumed to be a Mahatma or a great soul. After being proclaimed a national leader in Africa, Gandhi returned to his homeland in 1915. He wanted to join the struggle to unite his motherland, to fight off the imperial power of the British. He joined the Indian National Congress, which became the vessel for the freedom movement going forward. Gandhi's return to India was in the midst of the First World War. He wanted India to support the British in the war, in the hopes that they would be rewarded with independence afterwards. Well, sorry to tell you, he was very wrong. Why on earth would the British give up India after winning the war? When Gandhi saw his demands being ignored, he started a bunch of local movements, which helped spread the cause, but none of his early movements made any significant changes. He only helped peasants at the local level. But then, in came the non-cooperation movement in 1919 like a locomotive, sparking nationwide protests. The Indians refused to cooperate with the British at first, and the movement was the first All India movement under Gandhi, making him the symbol for the people to rally behind. They protested against the oppressive Rowlatt Act and the Viceroy, Lord Irwin. Eventually, the British tried to end the movement by committing brutal and terrible acts of violence. Side note, the massacre at Jallianwala Bagh in 1919 was one of the craziest orchestrated mass murders of all time. Read up on it. Now, obviously, the Indian populace wanted revenge, but Gandhi continued to push his non-violent agenda and asked people to abstain from violence. Meanwhile, the British slaughtered their men, women, and children. I leave the interpretation of that statement up to you. However, one thing you must understand is that Gandhi was the symbol for a nationwide movement. Everybody understood him differently. This is his major contribution to the freedom struggle. He became a god of sorts for some. Even today, some worship him as a divine saint. In some areas, the movement took a violent turn under the Mahatma's name. This led Gandhi to stop the movement just because it was becoming violent. He was arrested as well during this time, which increased his fame. He led a few more major movements for the next 20 years, including his famous Salt March to Dandi in 1930, protesting against the high salt tax in India. He also led another major movement in 1942 called the Quit India movement, which also ended 2 years later. So considering that these movements were his greatest attempts, with the Quit India movement being his magnum opus, what were the results? We can actually say with clear certainty that these movements failed, or at least considerably underperformed. What Gandhi succeeded at was uniting the people and making them protest in his name, seeing him as a divine figure. That is an important contribution made by Gandhi, and I respect that. But the main objective was to drive the British out of India, which they did not even get close to. Just think for a second. Gandhi's constant protest was always non-violent, and he constantly held hunger strikes. Why would the British care about that? Actually, neither of us are qualified to speak on this. Let's take the words of Clement Attlee, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at this time. In his words, Gandhi's Quit India movement ended in 1944, and that there was no immediate Gandhi-related reason to suddenly vacate the country in 1947. He describes Gandhi's contribution as minimal. He cites another Indian freedom fighter, Subhash Chandra Bose, as the main reason for India's freedom. Now, Bose deserves a video of his own, which I will make in the future. He truly was a great man and a visionary. Basically, his military campaigns led to the erosion of the loyalty of the Indian Army and Navy to the British Crown. That led to freedom for India. See, the British were ruling India with a military and police force that was basically 90% Indian. They were using Indians to oppress and kill other Indians. It was a deadly strategy. Divide and conquer. Create rifts between the Indians themselves. When the military and the Navy rioted, it was all over and the British had to leave. Gandhi himself made no contribution. He united the people, which was a big task he accomplished, but it was the people themselves and the military driving the British out in a violent way. As Subhash Chandra Bose said himself, freedom is not given, it is taken. Finally, another thing that many fail to mention is that Gandhi pushed for the partition of India into Pakistan, India, and present-day Bangladesh. Many believe that this weakened India. They wanted to achieve the goal of Akhand Bharat, or the unification of India into one single great country. Gandhi was accused of favoring Islam by giving them a new nation and disadvantaging India by dividing it. To promote non-violence during the riots following the partition of India, Gandhi said, Hindus should not harbor anger in their hearts against Muslims, even if the latter wanted to destroy them. Even if the Muslims want to kill us all, we should face death bravely. Just let that sink in for a second. He has also said some truly evil things about the relations between the Hindus and the Muslims that you should definitely check out. There is a link in the description that has more Gandhi quotes like this. Now let's have a look at Gandhi as a human and why he wasn't really a good person. So, the point of this video is to show that Gandhi was just one of us, a human with very real flaws and problems. Gandhi was a problematic individual for sure. His private life outside of the freedom struggle is shrouded in controversy, and he has made questionable decisions with regard to people he disagreed with. For one, when Gandhi went to prison during the Quit India movement, he was imprisoned in a palace alongside his wife Kasturba. They received extremely good service. However, when his wife got ill with pneumonia, Gandhi refused to provide her with penicillin and other modern medications, saying that the Almighty would heal her. Gandhi asked his protesting children to trust God. Kasturba died the very same day. What makes this story even more tragic is that Gandhi got malaria a few weeks later, but contrary to what you might think, he got medication for himself. This is extremely selfish behavior from the so-called Mahatma, letting his own wife die in the name of God. Gandhi has also been accused of alienating those from the freedom struggle that he did not agree with. He could have saved the life of the extremist leader Bhagat Singh, but he did not because Bhagat Singh used violence. So, he let him die. Also, the aforementioned Subhash Chandra Bose disagreed with Gandhi, who protested against Bose's election to the Congress presidency. Bose left the Congress to find his own path due to Gandhi's protest. Gandhi favored Nehru over Bose, even though Bose was seen as more capable. This is shown as Gandhi favored Nehru when it came to deciding the first Prime Minister of the country. Another such example is that of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He worked for the betterment of the Dalits and is an extremely well-respected individual even today. He and Gandhi often clashed due to Gandhi's views on caste. Gandhi had very clearly stated that he wanted the abolition of untouchability, not the caste system. He believed the caste system to be an integral part of society. Ambedkar fiercely disagreed with Gandhi and viciously tore him apart in a BBC interview in 1955. This is a little snippet from there.
As I met Mr. Gandhi in the capacity of an opponent, I have a feeling that I know him better than most other people because he had opened his real fangs to me, you see, and I could see the inside of the man. So far as India is concerned, he was, in my judgment, you see, an episode in the history of India.
These actions of Gandhi paint a very clear picture of a clever and calculated man who knew how to become popular among the masses. His popularity spread, masking his questionable actions. His behavior shows his bitterness and anger towards anyone who dared to cross him. Moreover, I'm still to mention some of Gandhi's most abhorrent crimes. Many women living in the ashrams of Gandhi were involved in some experiments, let's say. Gandhi would ask these young women, some of whom were teens, to sleep naked with him. These women range from 33-year-old ladies to his 18-year-old grandniece, Manu. 18 years old. According to these women, no sexual activity occurred, and it was a bit like sleeping with your elderly mother. Anyone getting a bit grossed out? I certainly am. Well, it's about to get worse. The reasons for these experiments were that Gandhi wanted to test his willpower. He was a believer in celibacy, and he wanted to tempt himself to see how good his willpower is. In fact, he was sleeping with 2 of his grandnieces at once during his last years. This has to be a criminal offense, right? Really brings up those Biden vibes. So to encapsulate, some of these incidents paints a very clear picture of Gandhi, a manipulator who lies constantly to brainwash people and uses his position of power to remove everyone who he disagrees with and get his way with them. He was a complete and utter tyrant. Some believe that when Nathuram Godse killed Gandhi by shooting him, he was doing his country a service, that such a monster like Gandhi could not be allowed to live anymore. It was for the good of the nation and frankly the world. His actions show him violating his own tenets of non-violence. He committed the very worst kind of violence. Everyone is flawed. Every single human on God's green earth has some flaws within them. Gandhi was just like the rest of us. He wasn't a Mahatma. He doesn't deserve to be the father of the nation in India. He was just another freedom fighter, a politician who lies and manipulates behind the scenes for his own gain. Remember that always. History is written by the winners. The winners get to decide how the story is narrated and who is painted as the villain. The true heroes of the Indian freedom struggle sacrificed their lives to free the country, while the moderates sitting in the Congress were the ones who lived to tell the tale. So they fabricated the story of a Mahatma who freed the nation on his own. Just one frail old man against the colonial might of the British. I've disproved that fact here. Gandhi had a minor contribution to the struggle, but he would have never achieved freedom, not before his death. In fact, I would be prepared to say that the nation of India would and could have been free and independent a long time before 1947 if Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was never born. Thank you for watching.